Hello there folks, and welcome back to a new day here at Oak Camp. My name is Ash and I'm normally your host on men's style, self-development and personal grooming, but as you know, for a few episodes now we have decamped into the outdoors and I'm living life as a chap in the outdoors. So great first night's sleep here in the camp, but life goes on. First of all, we've got to have a shave and something to eat because it's important to keep in control of one's hygiene and one's standards even when one is away from the home base. So I'm going to start off by a nice cleansing and restorative shave at my outdoor shaving station, and we'll take the day from there. Okay folks, so here we are, time for that shave. And just so as you know, my shaving station is just off to my left here. My big mirror and so on. I've got my water boiled from the Kelly kettle, which is all ready to go. I'm just going to tell you some of the things that I'm going to use today. I've actually asked on my Instagram and on my YouTube community page for some questions from folks about grooming and shaving. So I'm going to share some of my thoughts on those topics as we go along, but we're going to have a nice shave, that's for sure. And what am I going to use? Well, I'll just run through the basic ingredients. I'm going to be using a Rockwell 6 razor. This is one of the ones where you have adjustable sort of sharpness, what's the right word? The reveal of the blade, you know, the aggression of the blade. This was one which was very kindly sent to me by a viewer some time ago, Chris from Canada, and I've really connected with this razor. It gives a great shave. I have it set on number 6, which is the most aggressive shave, and inside this double-edged shaver, or razor, is actually a Gillette Nasset razor blade. And today will be the 3rd use of that blade. So a typical razor of that kind, which is quite sharp, for me lasts about 5 shaves, so it's halfway through its life. What am I going to be applying? Well, I've got a Yaki 26mm brush here. That's what I'll be using. It's a synthetic brush, always delivers quite well. And going on to the skin, or the shaving soap, this is an interesting one. This is one which was sent to me as a sample by Dr. Selby shaving cream. Interesting little bowl it comes in, quite sort of retro in styling, and it's very, very popular in South America, Latin America, and it's only recently started pushing out into Europe and North America, but I've not really used it very much. It got sent to me a few months ago, and as you can see, it's a sort of a green colour inside, and it's lavender fragrance. So it's a solid soap, but it has a very pleasing fragrance to it. Very old-fashioned smell, I think. Lavender, very, very light, muted fragrance. But we'll see how it works. I understand it's very, very capable as a shaving cream. And keeping with the Dr. Selby theme, they've sent me some skin protectorant ointment as well, which apparently is very good for minor cuts, chafing and burns. Trusted for over 60 years, so it might be ideal to use as an aftershave balm. I'm just going to apply a little bit to the skin afterwards. So let me answer a question first of all before we even get started. and I've got a few here, so I'm going to go through them as we go along. First question's from Web Bezzy. What are your favourite low-cost and high-end safety razors, and what are their differences in your opinion? Well, that's a tough one, because I think it's entirely dependent on the shave that you enjoy, because I've had some very inexpensive razors like the Gillette, you know, the Camp C Gillette, or sorry, King C Gillette razor, £20 in any supermarket. That gives a really capable shave for, well, between £10 and £20. Then you go up to something like this Rockwell, which is several times that in cost. It still gives a very capable shave, but slightly different to my personal taste. So I don't advocate spending a fortune on razors, because you never know how they're going to perform against your skin. Just take it easy when it comes to firing money into things like razors. So I've got some water here, as you saw me boiling it up. Just going to apply that to the skin, just to get the face lubed. And I have to say, I don't know if you can see it from where you are, but my skin, my stubble, 2 days worth of stubble here, and I have to tell you, I do not like the white tips to the bristles, which I'm getting now in my mid-50s. So I've dampened down my Yaki 26mm synthetic brush, and I'm just going to get it in there and work some of that shaving soap. It's quite hard soap, it's not cream by any means, but it's shaving soap. I'm going to work that into the brush, and I'm going to build the lather on the skin. I'm not going to mess around with a bowl or anything like that, because I'm out in the sticks having an outdoor shave. I'm not in any mood to mess around. So let's get it on the skin. The fragrance is coming through, and my initial thought, tap more water on the end there, it's quite dry. My initial thought is very pleasant, very sort of old-fashioned fragrance. Quite like it. The soap is going on, hope you can see it, very nicely. It's quite thick and luscious, and yes, taking no effort at all to build into a nice lather. If anything, I put too much soap on the brush. Just count that under the nose. There we go. Bit more water on there, build that lather into a nice viscous thing. Make the blade work a lot easier. Okay, whilst that's softening up, I'll answer another question. This is from Art Mallory. What does he say? Which electric razors are better, rotary or foil? And I'll link that with the next question from Vladimir S. What do you think about electric razors? Well, I used an electric razor for many years. I used a Remington, so it was the foil style razor. I've also used the rotary style razor. Often, you know, Braun is the most common, I think, on the market. I like them both. As a preference, I would say rotary gives a closer shave, because it seems to put more effort in. But as a rule, rather than spend money on a razor, an electric razor, I can't advocate enough for a double-edged razor and its simplicity when it comes to shaving. You can't get better. And I'm going to demonstrate that. So I've just applied that lovely Dr. Selby's shave soap, as you can see, and I'm going to do 2 passes today, straight down with the grain, as they say, at the top half of my face. And over the years, of course, you'll get your own styles. Let's just wipe some of that off the brush of shaving. You'll know what your skin likes, what it doesn't like. I know my skin likes the directions in which I will be shaving it today. There we go. Third use of this razor, the actual blade, so it is by no means a fresh razor, and I can feel it ever so slightly tugging against my bristles. But I think it's important to show the point that you don't have to use a new razor every time you shave. Now, under the skin, sorry, under the chin, I shave upwards. Some people prefer to shave down. Over the years, I've trained my skin to like the way I do this. There we go. Other side. Get rid of those white bristles. That's the way. getting rid of it off the brush. I think one of my neighbours is mowing the lawn here. Apologies if the noise is distracting to you. Okay, there we go, just touching up the chin. That's it, getting rid of the majority of that stubble. That's a good start. Now I'm going to go for a second pass, but before I do that, I will of course answer another question. And the question is, let us have a look. From Fred Kellner, any thoughts on the Henson razor? Okay, well, the Henson razor is a razor which came out, what, 2 years ago? And it heavily promoted itself around the basis that it was built to aircraft engineering tolerances, you know, very, very closely sort of aligned tolerances, very high quality razor, generally built from aluminium, now available in many other materials. Here in the UK, they retail about 57 British pounds. I've not tried one. I actually wrote to Henson when they first brought them out, and I offered to review one here on the channel just to see what they were like, and they declined. So I thought, well, not that I took that anyway personally, but I know what I like with my normal razors, and I didn't see the point to be spending a large sum of money on a razor which was an uncertainty for me. I understand that they shave rather well. Some people will have their own issues with that, but or I've heard some things about them, but generally speaking, I hear that they're very good, but I can't speak from experience, so I'll say no more on that. Okay, so let's get some more water on the face before we apply more soap, because the more lubrication, the less pain. That's the way I think about it. So, a little bit more soap, and let's get going. Always a lot easier the second time. Ah yeah, skin feels better already. I'm one of these people, I've been clean shaven all my adult life, and for me the shaving is the pleasure in the experience. There we go. This is really soft, smooth, and very easy to go on the skin. I can see why this is a very popular shaving soap. I have to admit, it's rather nice. Okay, on your schnotter. Right, let's show it the braid for another occasion. But before we do, another question from Thomas. What is the best way to shave quickly, daily, if one does not want to go through the whole process, maybe when traveling? What's the best commercial shaving cream and razor? Well, the easiest way to shave every day, you don't have to do, you know, pre-shaves, soaking your face in hot water using a hot towel. Quite simply, find yourself a simple shave cream that you like, and apply very simple processes like a bit of water to the skin, put the shave cream on, 1 pass, 2 passes, whatever you prefer. There's no need to turn it into a half-an-hour event. For me, a shave in the morning takes 10 minutes. That's 2 passes. I use a pre-shave and I use aftershave lotion. That's all it takes, 10 minutes, but it sets me up for the day, and I find it's a time of the day when my mind is naturally waking up anyway. It's very refreshing. When I travel and shave, I take my razor inside a little travel sort of leather holder, so it's safe, and I take a super slick shaving cream in a tiny little box, a little bottle. So I'm not taking up any space, and it's very easy to shave when I need it to. So, here we go. Let's touch that up because we're ready. Let's get the blade on. Now what I'm going to do this time, I'm going to shave across the grain, not against the grain, but, oh, hang on, put a bit more on there, across the grain. So I'm just going to shave not in the opposite direction to what I did earlier, but just against the grain of my skin. That way, any of those bristles which I missed the first time, or I only partially cut, I'm approaching them from a different angle, more chance of catching them. There we are. And it's not too aggressive and unpleasant on the skin either, because shaving against the grain whilst it provides the best possible shave, and I think, you know, your skin acclimatizes to the trauma you're putting it through if you do it every day, across the grain is somewhat less traumatic for the skin. There we go. Lovely. Feeling good. Now, underneath the chin, for me, I get irritation and rashes if I shave in the opposite direction. So I simply shave a second time in the same direction that I did first time. I'm just having another go at it in the same direction. That way, I find I don't get irritation, shaving bumps, things like that. And it works nicely for me. Everybody's different. Your skin is different. Everybody's skin reacts in a different way to the shaving process. And it takes a while. A lot of people write to me and say, you know, I've shaved 3, 4, 5 times using a double-edged razor. I love the idea of it, but actually my skin comes out in a hell of a mess afterwards. My sort of advice to you, firstly, persevere, because it doesn't happen overnight. It can take months, 2 months, and try to be less aggressive perhaps. You know, use, in the early days, only 1 pass of the skin, and then build up to 2 passes. I know many people with very wiry bristles, they maybe shave 3 passes to the skin in all different directions. There we go. That's it. Oh, the skin feels good, and I feel a lot less white around the stubble or the bristles. So, another question quickly. This is from Pete Niner. I've taken to using straight razors within the last few months. I have a few in my collection, Japanese, German and French. However, no matter what razor I use, I get terrible razor burn at the base of my neck. Will the skin eventually become accustomed to and less irritated by the razors? I'm half tempted to use a Gillette razor on my neck and my straight razors to maintain the lines of my beard. Well, Pete Niner, we kind of answered that there. In essence, I think yes. Your skin will become accustomed to what you're putting it through. It is, sadly, perseverance. And I wouldn't go to the hassle of having one razor for one part of your face, one for the other. Stick with it. As I say, use a less aggressive razor perhaps. You know, the actual razor blade that you have inside. Go for something which is known for being less problematic. If you're using a feathers blade or an Asset or something like that, they're known for being very sharp. You can go for something, have a look around, see what other people recommend on the shaving forums, and build yourself up to those very sharp ones. And if you're getting razor burn, try shaving in a different direction. You know, if you're shaving against the grain, shave with the grain. It doesn't give you that incredibly smooth baby bottom smooth finish, as they say, BBS, but it'll certainly help you on the journey to acclimatizing the skin to that quite a traumatic experience that you're putting it through. Okay, so now I'm just going to rinse the skin off with a little bit of warm water. Hang on, I've got some here in this bowl. And my little towel. Oh yeah, you know, when you've had a night in the tent, one of the few things you can do for yourself with pleasure is a shave, because I used the word earlier, it's restorative. It makes me feel so much better. You know, when you're having a wash, and nothing feels better than a shave. It's an absolute joy. Okay, so having shaved now, got to look after the skin. First thing I'm going to do is apply a witch hazel astringent. Witch hazel, natural substance, applies in nature, and it's odorless, and you know, it's colorless. You just apply it to the skin, and in essence it is antibacterial, anti-infection. It's an astringent, it doesn't cause any stinging, there's no alcohol. All I'm doing is protecting my skin, less chance of infection getting in there. The astringent qualities of it are wonderful. It's been known to tone the skin, so you can put it all over the face and it works well. It's looking after you, particularly after you've drawn that razor blade over the skin. So whilst that settles, I'll just answer another question from Terry Tibbs. This is a good one, right? I saw this one pop into the feed and I thought, here's a gentleman with either a sense of humour or an interesting social life. He says, excuse me, get that water off that. How does one shave his ball bag? Can you provide any tried and tested techniques? Okay, so if one needs to shave one's testicle area, it's not something I do as a matter of course, particularly out in the countryside using a razor, because obviously a nicked artery out here could be the difference between life and death. However, in urban life, perhaps if you're in need of such a shaving experience, I would suggest using one of the razors which are specifically designed for ladies to shave their legs and such, because it is going to be intrinsically better designed for the purpose which you suggest. Because one of these razors, obviously the tolerance, the reveal of the blade, quite small, difficult for shaving long and maybe wiry hairs. That's the best suggestion I can give you there, Terry. Okay, right, I've used my witch hazel. Now it is time to put some protectorant on the skin. Sometimes people use an aftershave balm, something like that. I'm going to use this Dr. Selby Skin Protectorant Ointment. I have no idea what it's like. I'm just using this as an experiment. And it's quite solid stuff. It is more of an ointment than a shaving balm by the feel of it on my skin. So I am just going to, little globule, as you can see on my finger, I am just going to pop that in. Oh, it's quite rich stuff, and rub that into the skin. It is not a loose ointment, it's really going in there, kind of odorless, but yeah, I can feel it working into the skin. That is definitely going to provide some protection. I don't know a great deal about this fella. What does it say? Helps prevent and temporarily protects from chafing, chapped, cracked skin, helps prevent from the drying effects of wind and cold weather. Well, perhaps it's ideal then for me out here in the woods, as I'm staying at my oak camp behind me for a week or so. We're only on day 2, and that feels really good. It doesn't feel too greasy or anything like that, which is ideal, because I hate greasy ointments that just lay on the skin. That one is already sort of absorbed in there. Okay, just going to wash my hands off. Don't want that all over my hands. And finally, I'm just going to knock off a few more questions and we're nearly done. Right, one more thing to come with the skin though. Question from Mark Fowler. Hello Ash, I've recently taken to using a hot towel to open the pores on my neck, as I find this area difficult to shave without irritation, even with a pre-shave. What are your thoughts on the use of hot then cold towels? So when you say neck, I'm guessing you mean this area here, base of the throat in essence. If a hot towel works for you, I would say that's great, because obviously when you apply the towel, it's doing 2 things. It's drawing the pores open, presenting the bristles a little easier so the razor will find them, and also it's softening the hair, right, the bristles themselves, making it easier to cut. However, when you apply that hot towel, by opening the pores, if you shave over it very aggressively and you get a lot of that hair, the bristle, you're cutting it off maybe even below the surface of the skin, because the skin's been artificially kind of opened by the hot towel, that may cause the irritation. My suggestion would be, rather than do anything else, maybe stop using the hot towel for a little while and see if that makes any difference. You might find by stopping doing something which is traditionally thought of as being good for shaving, it may be beneficial. Next question from Toby Jackman. Has a goatee ever been acceptable? Goatee beard, that's a good one. The goatee beard, obviously the little beard which comes around the upper lip here, you know, normally joins with the moustache, just a little bit on the end of one's chin rather. I've never had one, all right, so I tend to think that people grow topiary on their face, so topiary, highly manicured beards and the like. They tend to do so, particularly with a goatee, to break up the shape of your face. So if you're a larger gentleman with perhaps a very round face, maybe a few double chins, the addition of a goatee beard will break up those large rounded lines of your face and offer a different visual point on the face, right, rather than just maybe, you know, if you've got a couple of chins going on. So I understand why people opt for the goatee. For me personally, the negativity around the goatee would be the faff basically, which is necessary every day when shaving to make sure it's in the right shape, getting the lines particular and so on. For me, I just prefer the clean shaven look, and I know many men, I mean the beard is more popular than it's been in my lifetime right now. People love beards for all manner of reasons, not least because they don't have to go through this process every day. I understand that, but for me, this process every day is very much part of my daily grooming regime. I'm looking after my skin, trying to keep myself, you know, my skin in good health and me looking good as long as possible. So yeah, the goatee may be the halfway house. If you like the shaving experience, but you need that little bit of, you know, feature on the face, it might be an interesting route. Not for me, but you know, everybody's different. And let me just apply, I've got one more question, which I will answer at the end, but I'm going to apply a fragrance, because even though I am out in the countryside, I still want a fragrance, all right? Yes, it may attract the beasties to come and bite me later, but I'm a gentleman, and as a gentleman, I'm using a gentleman's fragrance. This is Floris Special number 127. It is a light and crisp citrus-based fragrance. It's very reminiscent to perhaps their most famous fragrance, which is the Floris number 89, often misassociated with the character of James Bond. But Floris 127, it's kind of a watered down version of it when you apply it, so it's better, I think, for warmer weather, and it's certainly warm here today. It's way over 20 degrees even though it's May, so I want something light and crisp rather than something dense and heavy, and this one is going to be a treat for me. Lovely little fragrance, this one. I'm going to apply it at my pulse points. See, I'm not putting it anywhere the face, back of the neck as well, because where those big arteries and veins go up and down into the brain, they're closer to the surface, some argue, and at that point the temperature created by the blood vessels being near to the surface activate the fragrance for longer. This little fella, 127, is a very lovely but classically elegant fragrance for gentlemen. Hard to beat that one. And Floris, beautiful, beautiful store. Not expensive either. I think that's about £85 for a fairly large bottle, likely to last you years when you buy it, so not a bad little investment. And it can be worn in any situation. Even, one would suggest, it will cross the boundary between men and women. So if you're a female who likes something a little bit more butchy, you know, that might be the way to go. Last question on my sheet today is from Ethel Turb. Sorry if I've said that wrong. Why is Mitchell's wool fat soap impossible to lather? Mitchell's wool fat soap, not something I have used up to this point, but I do, of course, as somebody who enjoys the shaving regime, I have heard of it because it's very famous. Wool fat soap is, well, Mitchell's wool fat soap particularly, and they do a number of different products, is based around lanolin, which is the natural fat, if you want to call it that, which is produced in the fleeces of sheep. And its discovery was very interesting because I think it was a local pharmacist in Yorkshire or somewhere where it was created here in England, noticed that all of the local sheep farmers had beautiful skin and soft hands, and they worked out that it was caused by their constant exposure and touching the sheep which they worked with, and the lanolin would transfer onto their skin, and it is a natural, wonderful skin protectorant. So that pharmacist then started making soap with one of the predominant ingredients being lanolin, and that lanolin then, you know, forms this soap. However, it is very hard to get a very good lather going from the lanolin. The secret undoubtedly is to steep the soap in some water beforehand. So if you had a shaving container like this, the secret would be, yeah, put water on it at least 5 minutes before you intend to use it. It will soften the soap, and then spend plenty of time, or they call it to bloom the soap, because the soap will bloom. Plenty of time whipping it into that lather, and you're ready to go. And hopefully that will be a benefit for you when you're using that. But they tell me, and I've not used it, and I'm tempted to try it now that we've spoken about it, it builds a fabulous, slick and beautiful lather to use when shaving. I'm going to give it a try now I've said that. Anyway, there we go, folks. Shave done, smelling good, skin feels great. Time to get on with my day of camping in the outdoors. Lots more to share with you. Certainly some recipes to make and some fun to have. So, if you've enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, click the subscribe button. If you'd like to contribute to the conversation, leave it in the comment section below. If you'd like to support the channel, you can either buy me a coffee, or if you want to go the whole hog, you can become a patron. And you get extra videos from me every week on my Patreon channel, and the links to all that is in the show notes below. So until the next time, have a fabulous shave, feel slick and sharp all day long, and I will see you again very soon.